This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here in Gemtree's Vineyards in the McLaren Vale with winemaker Mike Brown. How are you today, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, Jamie.
Please tell me a little bit about how Gemtree came to be.
Gemtree is a third generation business. The story I was talking about in terms of the families, the Buttery family came down here in the 1960s. They were market gardeners from Adelaide. They set up a market garden in McLaren Vale and also planted a vineyard. The next generation who were involved in real estate came down here and planted a vineyard, and that was in the 1980s, so there's a 20-year gap. Grape growing became the major source of income for that family. They went away from real estate and went away from market gardening. There was a point in the late 1990s when the grape growing boom was on. The next generation, which is myself and my brother-in-law and my now wife Melissa, who's the viticulturist in the company, we decided to create the Gemtree wine brand. So there's two parts of our business. One is grape growing, one is winemaking. So that was established in 1998, and it's gone from a 500 case business into now something a lot bigger than that.
You have moved into biodynamic farming. Please tell me how that came about.
I did a tasting in the Barossa in 1996, and amongst that tasting were 7 or 8 biodynamic wines from some very reputable producers from around Australia. What I noticed with those wines was that they had a brightness and a freshness, and they weren't doctored. They had a balance and an elegance that I really liked, and I walked away from that tasting. I knew once the wines were unmasked that I felt that we had an opportunity to do something like that with our own vineyards. I needed to convince my father-in-law, who has been a conventional farmer all his life, that this was a great opportunity for us, number one, as farmers, to get our soil into the best possible quality we could, and then once we had the soil in the best possible condition, right, then we could grow the best possible fruit. So the conversion for us away from conventional farming into biodynamics started off as a trial of 30% of our vineyards, and now 100% of our vineyards have been moved into biodynamics with certification arriving this year. The transition has been very slow, but has been very rewarding. The biggest thing from my perspective that I noticed is the fruit is getting into balance a lot earlier in the season, so we're not necessarily having to wait for the ripeness to come. The grapes are riper earlier, so it seems that the balance of the vines we're achieving that at a much earlier process than we have been in the past. We've had some very challenging seasons in McLaren Vale, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010.
2011 would have been challenging in some way, in a different manner, I would say.
Totally. We had heat in 08, and this year we've had water. But what we found, especially on Gemtree, with the change in our practices, our vines have coped very well. I'm not saying that we haven't been affected, but I think we fared very well. And the structure, what we've noticed is that the structure within the soil, the organic matter, it's building a much more viable place for us to grow grapes, and it's a much more sustainable practice. That's our feeling on, let's say, for the next generation. So we're a third generation business, right, but the fourth generation is already on the ground. Now Melissa and I wanted a position where we had something to hand over to these guys, because we felt that if we kept on with conventional farming, when was that point going to change?
Yes. Yeah.
Did we have something that we were going to be able to hand over to the next generation? And look, I'm not saying that it's the complete answer, but it's given us another edge, we feel, not in the marketplace, but it's another edge viticulturally for us to get that next level of quality fruit.
With the whole concept of the new Australia with regards to wine, where do you feel the McLaren Vale sits in that concept?
I think very nicely poised. The new Australia, look, we've learnt a lot out of this business in a very short period of time. I think in this country we've tried to be everything to everyone. right? We have created a product that a lot of people can enjoy at a very cheap price, right? Is that sustainable? That's a question mark, right? The new Australia, the new opportunity for us that exists as winemakers and growers is that the resource is already here. All the vines are planted. Everyone understands how to make wine and grow grapes. The opportunity that exists for us is to go into the marketplace and tell people about what we can actually do. The big companies have created, I suppose, a market for us. Now it's our opportunity as the small growers and the small winemakers to go and talk to the individual and say, this has come off a very small patch of dirt that is, let's say, we make 500 bottles or we make 1,000 bottles of this. It's not big volume and it's not commercial. When you taste it, there's a sense of place. That's the opportunity that exists for me, that it's not about big volumes. It's not about 25-kilometre rows. It's about small pieces of vineyard, and therefore, and you taste those wines and they speak of the soil and the place and the person that makes them.
Thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today. Really appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure, Jamie. Thank you.